A linkage institution is a structure in society that connects people to their government. These include the media, political parties, elections, and interest groups. For my project, I focused on the media for marijuana legalization. So the media can include television, social media, newspapers, and magazines, and it can influence people's perspectives on issues. It's more accessible to people and has more influence than other linkage institutions. For marijuana legalization, it's widely debated. It has a divided perspective. Liberals are generally in favor, and conservatives are generally opposed. Marijuana is currently classified as a level 1 drug along with cocaine and other highly dangerous drugs. It's currently legal in Colorado, Alaska, Oregon, and Washington. For my first source, I looked at Fireworks, Bill O'Reilly versus Mary Catherine Ham on marijuana legalization from the Fox News. The title suggests that this is a debate of pro versus con regarding the legalization of marijuana. For Mary Catherine Ham, she's a journalist. She's the editor of Hot Air, has been the editor to Town Hall magazine, the senior writer at The Federalist, and a CNN contributor. She's Republican, and this is relevant to her credibility because of her journalism experience, so she's a credible source of information. However, she may be biased to her conservative opinions. On the other hand, Bill O'Reilly is a television host, an author, a journalist, and a political commentator. He's the host of the Bill O'Reilly Factor, which is a political commentary program. He's formerly Republican, and he's currently an Independent Party of New York member. However, he's mostly considered to be conservative. This is relevant to his credibility because he's most likely going to be biased towards his views. This source has two alternate points of views, as I mentioned. Mary Catherine Ham has a point of view of pro-legalization. She focuses on how large amounts of money are spent to keep marijuana illegal. She also talks about the medical uses of marijuana, how many people are incarcerated and arrested, and the majority of marijuana convictions are due to possession only. She also talks about the adult implications and how they matter, whereas the children's implications shouldn't, how things like tattoo and alcohol are still legal even though parents would not want their children to take part in them. She also talks about how people can enjoy marijuana and alcohol in moderation as adults, how the system is not currently working, and how Colorado is still together despite having legalized marijuana. On the other hand, Bill O'Reilly has a point of view that's against legalization. He talks about the negative implications to children and how they shouldn't be able to use marijuana. He also talks about the social costs and how pot will be more common and acceptable if it's legalized, which he thinks is negative. In addition, he talks about the negative impacts that an addictive substance like marijuana has. Ham's argument is straight and to the point. She uses facts, implications, and significance. She's super argumentative, whereas O'Reilly is not very clear. He says non-marijuana people, and other words similar to that, which is slightly less sophisticated language and appeals to the general public. However, this is not as effective. Throughout the whole source, influential words such as percentages and amounts of money are used to convince the audience about the significance of each point. The word children is also brought up to relate to emotion and the impacts that marijuana has on children. Additionally, the word temperance is used in relating to banning marijuana use to banning alcohol during the temperance movement, which has a very negative connotation. Additionally, plague is used to also relate alcohol to disease, which then relates adding another harmful substance, such as marijuana, to be dangerous. The arguments that are made in this source are that Ham argues that keeping marijuana illegal is costly and ineffective, and she supports legalization. On the other hand, O'Reilly is against legalization. One assumption that Bill O'Reilly makes is that marijuana is harmful to children. This is valid, yet it's unsupported in terms of there is no evidence presented. Ham supports her argument using her personal experience as a mom. Statistics, however, I'm unsure if these are accurate as there are no sources. She also refutes O'Reilly's points with logic. On the other hand, O'Reilly uses statistics, and these also may not be accurate, comparisons and analogies based on alcohol and marijuana, and he also doesn't address the opposing viewpoints fairly. Now, my second source was Dr. Sanjay Gupta explaining his change of heart on medical marijuana from CNN. This title suggests that the author has changed his view around medical marijuana from bad to good. This also brings up the question of why he suddenly has this change of perspective. Dr. Sanjay Gupta is a doctor, meaning he is credible due to his education and practice of medicine, especially when talking about the medical benefits of marijuana. However, this source is one-sided in terms of being supportive of legalization of marijuana. Some counter-arguments that are brought up are that marijuana is bad for developing brains in young people. However, Gupta refutes this in saying that it is a concern for young people, but for adults it's hard to find any additional harm. Additionally, there's the counter-argument that marijuana is generally seen as bad by studies. However, he refutes this additionally by saying that only 6% of the studies address benefits, meaning that there's a distorted picture. Gupta speaks about marijuana legalization with an educated perspective and talks about the benefits outweighing the costs. His influential words of medical applications, more effective and safer than narcotics, have an impact that changes the audience's point of view in terms of a positive view of marijuana. The connotations in the tone are positive in terms of being effective and safer. Dr. Sanjay Gupta claims that marijuana's benefits outweigh any consequences of using the drug medically. However, there are assumptions made in terms of how the small amount of studies based on the benefits of marijuana have a skewed perspective towards the negatives in terms of how there's more negative studies published. He includes the logical fallacies of a hasty generalization, saying that there are no marijuana overdoses confirmed and therefore there have been no overdoses and marijuana is safe. This weakens his argument as it fails to provide solid evidence that marijuana is quote-unquote safe. Overall, my point of view is pro-legalization of marijuana. In terms of my socialization, I have more liberal views, most likely due to my parents' beliefs. I also agree with Mary Catherine Ham and Dr. Sanjay Gupta in terms of the medical uses and the cost that it is to keep marijuana illegal. In terms of the validity of my sources, the first source I don't think is very credible in terms of the biased opinions and political views of the two sources. Additionally, they include clear statistics and facts and no sources. Finally, my second source I think is more trustworthy and credible, mostly due to the fact that Dr. Gupta is a doctor, and his perspective is very educated regarding the health implications of marijuana.